Well, I don't mind disagreeing with all those experts, certainly not. But it's been, at the longest in American history that we've gone without a recession. It's a very long time. Doesn't mean it has to go, we have to have a recession, but we always have. And I see the various signs that something is going to go wrong soon. I mean, we see everybody thinking the same way. We think a lot of new investors coming in who think that this is easy and fun to make money. So, I mean, all the signs are there. Maybe it won't happen this time, but it always has, Michelle. Well, that was last year. I thought we were talking about 2024 and 25.
Okay, so go on. You still think we'll see a big GDP turn in the next year or so?
Yes, I suspect we will. I mean, I have to watch, Kitco to find out what's happening. But of course, no, the signs are rising that we're going to have problems again. And, in 2008, we had a big problem. But Michelle, since 2008 and 2009, the debt everywhere has skyrocketed. So the next recession, my view is the next recession has to be worse, the worst in my lifetime, because the debt is so very much higher now than it has been ever before in my lifetime. Who knows? I'll watch Kitco to find out. But I know the debt has skyrocketed. Even China has a lot of debt now. China bailed us out in 2008. But even China's got debt. Everybody has debt. Well, maybe North Korea doesn't have debt, but everybody else has a lot of debt. So it's got to be bad.
So what is the trigger here then? What do you think happens to put us in this recession and turn things around?
The way these things work is it always starts in some place that no one pays attention to. In 2007, Iceland went bankrupt. Well, most people didn't know there was an Iceland, much less that it could go bankrupt. But then over the next several months, things got worse and worse. Bear Stearns went bankrupt, Lehman went bankrupt, and then everybody knew something was wrong. That's the way it usually works. So far, we've had a few minor problems in the world, nothing major yet, but when it's major and it's on the evening news, then we all know. You see, that's why I said you should watch Kitco News. You know what's going on. And I know I think I know what's going on. I see all the same problems developing that you see. But so far, none of them has been big enough to cause us to have a serious problem. And so far, central banks have very loose policies. If you go to Tokyo, my gosh, you can't believe how much money the Japanese central bank is printing and spending and borrowing. And that's true of other central banks as well. So there's a lot of money around at the moment. And I don't know what's going to cause it to stop and when it's going to stop. But I know it is. And I know many of the signs that I have seen before are starting to develop. I'm not selling short yet. No. I don't see the bear market starting this afternoon. Mm-hmm. But I can see signs that it's coming.
Let's talk about those signs. What are you seeing?
First of all, you just told me everybody thinks that this is okay, that everything is okay now, that even you see lots of good things happening, and I see those things happening too. You see lots of new investors coming in. They call up their friends and say, oh, I've discovered this new thing called the stock market, and you can make money, and it's fun, and it's easy. It's easy to make money. All of these things have happened before. You have a narrow band of stocks that are always going up. I mean, I've seen this rodeo before. Mm-hmm. Jamie's a smart guy, but I don't see it holding up for another 10 years. That's 2034. I promise you, Michelle, we're going to have a big bear market before 2034, and it's going to be extremely serious. The good news is, Michelle, you have job security because somebody has to report it. None of the rest of us have job security, but you do because you have to tell us what's going on.
Well, give me an approximate timeline.
It'll be before 5 years, certainly before 10 years, probably before 5 years. Maybe even this year. This year's an election year, as you pointed out, in many countries. Mm-hmm. And politicians always want to keep people happy. So politicians around the world are going to be doing their best to make us all happy and keep economies strong and stock markets strong. But there comes a time when it gets out of control and not even the central bankers or the stockbrokers or anybody can control them. And I'm afraid that I see the signs that we're getting, not there yet, but I see the signs that that will probably come in the next year or so.
All right. So this biggest crash in your lifetime beginning in the next year or so? This debt coming?
I'll watch Gitco to find out when it's going to start. But yes, that's probably correct. Well, those are on my list, ashore, because as you point out, those are the ones that are being exploited. Those are the ones that have very high valuations. I'm not short any of them yet, but they're high on my list. In previous bear markets, if you look back at the stocks that were really, really hot before the bear market began, those are the stocks that go down the most. I mean, this is simple market history. I'm not telling you something that you don't know. I hope you already know, but no, that's the way the markets work. Whatever's hot in one bull market becomes very cold when the bear market comes. Well, at the moment, I have a lot of cash, and the cash is in U.S. dollars mainly. I have other currencies, but mainly U.S. dollars because, everybody. I mean, the U.S. dollar is not a sound currency anymore. We're the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. But everybody thinks it's a sound currency, and they think it's a safe haven. So when problems come, people race to a safe haven. They think it'll be the U.S. dollar. I would suspect the U.S. dollar will go up, will get overpriced. I hope if it happens that way that I'm smart enough to sell it. Your question should now be, Michelle, but where will you put the money? And I don't know. I don't know what currency is going to compete with the U.S. dollar in the future. Obviously, logically, it should be the Chinese renminbi, but the renminbi is a blocked currency. You cannot have a blocked currency as the world's major currency. So I don't know. I'm looking. And who knows, but I don't see those countries, and it's not all 5 of them that are jumping in yet. I don't see those countries as having the economic power, except China, to do something. But as I said, China's got a blocked currency right now, so I don't see it.
So you don't see the BRICS plus, BRICS have expanded, adding new members. You don't see them successfully launching a commodity-backed common currency anytime soon?
I think it's a fantastic idea, but there's a difference in an idea and an execution.
All right. So still staying in dollars because you haven't quite found the alternative in terms of currency. What about gold?
Well, I own gold. I own silver. I have for many years. I've never sold any gold or silver. Don't plan to. I hope that my children have my gold and silver someday. But yes, historically, gold and silver have been refuges in times of problems. And I'm an old peasant, Michelle. Us old peasants want to have some gold in the closet and some silver under the bed.
There you go.
But yeah, look under my bed. You'll find some silver. Look in my closet. You'll find some gold. I'm an old peasant. And us peasants know how to protect ourselves.
They always have some physical gold and silver in the grab and go bag. But Jim, are you adding to those gold and silver positions at the moment?
I haven't added recently, but if and when they go down a lot, I hope I'm smart enough to buy more. If I were buying one right now, and I'm not, it would be silver, because silver is down 60% from its all-time high. Gold is at an all-time high. So on a historic basis anyway, silver's cheaper.
Right.
And maybe I'll buy some tomorrow. I mean, who knows?
Okay, but why do you think silver is not catching up to gold?
Well, I don't have an idea. Come on, you're Kitco News. Kitco's a specialist. You know everything about the metals, the precious metals.
That's because we talk to experts like you, Jim.
Well, I'm not sure why silver hasn't kept up. It is a little perplexing, but that usually means there's an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And unless there's something I don't know, and it's often something I don't know, but unless there's something I don't know specific to silver now, I don't know why silver is not. These things happen in markets. They've been happening for hundreds of years, and they will continue to happen. So maybe tomorrow I'll go buy some silver.
Do you think the Fed is able to successfully tame this inflation problem?
I don't have much confidence in the U.S. central bank or any central bank. The U.S. has had a couple of good central banks in the past 100-odd years. India had a good central bank chairman once, but most central bankers are bureaucrats and academics. They're just trying to keep their job, Michelle. They don't know what they're doing. And the way markets work, you said inflation is down a little bit. Well, that's markets go up, they correct, they go up, they correct. This is the way markets always work. And that's what's happening with inflation now. We're having a normal correction. I would suspect that we will see more inflation later this year.
So you expect inflation to rise if the Fed starts to cut rates?
Oh, especially if the Fed cuts rates. Historically, when the Fed starts cutting rates, markets go down because they know, oh, that's what we've been waiting for. You buy on the rumor, you sell on the news. So that's normally when the central banks start cutting rates, that's when markets go down, at least for a while. Central banks all around the world have printed unbelievable amounts of money in the last few years, a couple of years, huge amounts of money. As I said, Japan, the central banker goes to work early every morning because he's a good central banker, good Japanese, and cranks up the printing presses. You can't believe how much money they're printing in Japan and other countries. Maybe the U.S. has slowed down for a while, but Michelle, when things start going wrong, if they start going wrong or when they start going wrong, in Washington, they're going to print more money. That's all they know. They don't know what else to do.
For the most part, we're not seeing commodities act in the way they should, with the exception of gold a little bit. Why do you think that is?
Well, that's a very, very good question, and I don't have a good answer. I'm optimistic about gold and silver and other commodities, as I explained before. I have no idea why silver is down so much. You should watch Kitco, for goodness sakes. You can tell me why silver is down, but it is down nearly 60% from its all-time high. That's not a bubble. I assure you, that's not a bubble. Maybe gold is a bubble. I doubt it, but maybe. But silver is certainly not a bubble.
And I'm buying the things that these agricultural funds are growing or invested in growing. Why the disconnect? Can you explain that to me?
Well, that's an extremely good question, and I don't have a good answer, except that at times when people are looking for cash, they sell whatever they can sell. And since agriculture has been reasonably strong, it's down now, but compared to what it could have been, all I can answer is people are selling it because they want to raise money. But I don't have a good answer.
Would you still support the idea of investing in an agriculture ETF, investing in farming in one way or another?
Michelle, I know your parents taught you to buy low and sell high. You just explained that agriculture is low. So yes, you should be, I cannot tell people what to do, but agriculture is probably a good investment opportunity in 2024.
That's a big amount of farmland there. So as of 2022, that's what Bill Gates owns. What do you make of that?
Well, as I just explained, I think that's probably a wise investment. Certainly, 10, 20 years from now, somebody's going to look back and say, wow, he was really smart. Whether he's buying it in the U.S. or Australia or Canada, wherever it is, they're probably good investments. Agriculture has not been a great investment for a while. And as I said before, I know your parents taught you to buy low and sell high. Maybe Mr. Gates knows what he's doing. It's certainly low.
Is there any cause for concern with all of this farmland being centralized under one individual or a few individuals?
Well, I'm not concerned, but if you are, by all means, write your congressman. But I'm not concerned, no.
All right, that doesn't concern you, that small independent farms are sort of being conglomerated into bigger farm holdings?
Well, unfortunately, small independent farms have usually not been terribly competitive. They've not been great investments, great places for agriculture to be produced or anything else. History shows that if you can roll up or make big farms, you're probably going to be more successful.
What's your read on where we are in this moment of history?
Well, unfortunately, if you go back to previous periods of history, we have small wars now, and historically, small wars somehow or another wind up turning into big wars. It's not good. We would think that people would learn the lessons of history, but they never do. And so when I say, if you go back to before World War I, this is the sort of thing that started happening in small wars. And the next, as recently as, say, 1912, the German and British royal families vacationed together, partied together, et cetera, et cetera. And a couple of years later, they were slaughtering each other in the trenches. So these things can change and do change. And I don't like the signs that I see. I would like to think that we're smart enough to stay away from war, but Michelle, mankind has never been smart enough to avoid wars.
Do you think that we're on the precipice of an even bigger escalation in terms of global conflict?
I see the signs are moving in that direction. I have no idea what's going to happen. I would hope that all of us, mankind, would be smart enough to know, let's not do that again, because it's never been good for anybody. But we will see. I can look at a globe and I know that Taiwan's going to be part of China again someday. I don't know when the someday is, unfortunately, but if I were China, and I'm not, they certainly don't listen to me, I would just wait. Because, Michelle, look at your globe. There's no way that Taiwan cannot be part of China someday. And it will be. Will it be by war? I hope not. China seems to be smart enough to just wait because they know it's going to be theirs again someday. And I hope they will just wait. The U.S. keeps antagonizing. Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan. American politicians keep going to Taiwan. That's poking the Chinese in the face. I wish they wouldn't. But so far, China just seems to be patient, and I hope that will continue. I don't know the people in Beijing, so I have no idea what they're going to do.
You have no insight there, but you do feel that China will...
Well, I have insights, but who knows if they're right? I don't have any inside information.
Right.
I don't speak to the people in the Chinese government.
What's your outlook on China's economy?
Well, my view has been, I think you know, for 30 or 40 years, that China was on the rise again. Now everybody knows it. Now I'm not the only one. I was ridiculed back in the old days. I remember in the 80s, I would come back and say, China, 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 and everybody would say, no, 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 Japan, Japan, Japan. You may remember, you're not old enough to remember those days, but China has certainly risen dramatically. Now it's the second largest or maybe largest economy in the world, depending on who's measuring, and it's going to continue. But Michelle, if you look at the United States, we had some horrible setbacks in the last 150 years as we were rising to become the most successful country in the 20th century. My goodness, we had bankruptcies, bear markets, recession, depressions. We had all kinds of problems. That's the way the world works. That's history. That's normal to have setbacks. So China is having and will continue to have, and maybe they'll have some horrible setbacks. We, the U.S., certainly did. It's normal. Well, I don't see anybody else out there that's rising like China has been rising and has continued to rise.
What
it's
about
not
India?
going to be, the Indians talk a good game, but so far it's been mainly talk. Mr. Modi is very popular everywhere he goes, but it's mainly talk so far. There's many very, very smart Indians. It's a wonderful place. If you can only visit one country in your life, I would urge you to go to India. It's an astonishing country. But is it going to be? It's going to be a great country again someday, but not anytime soon. Not like China.
Do you then still believe in people being exposed to China's equity markets, to potential investment opportunities in China?
Well, yes, I own Chinese shares. It's down. I'm looking for investments in China right now in the stock market. I haven't bought anything recently, but since it's down and there's pessimism, I am looking. but I don't have anything yet, whatever you want to call it, that's happening in China. So I'm looking for the things that are down, but I have not bought anything recently.
So it's been a tough year for China, but you're saying that this is the moment to start sniffing around for opportunity.
I don't know if it's a moment, but I am. And by the way, Hang Seng is Hong Kong.
Yeah.
That's China now, but it's when I consider the Chinese market, I think more of Shanghai and Shenzhen.
Yeah.
But I certainly know about Hong Kong. Yes, it's a wonderful place.
Yeah, the Shenzhen is down, I believe, 10% year to date. But point taken there about Hong Kong. Want to get your thoughts, Jim, on Bitcoin?
Well, my point just to clarify is that I don't see cryptocurrencies becoming money because the governments do not want that competition. Yes, we do have Bitcoin as being accepted more and more, but I don't think it's a legitimate currency anywhere yet, except maybe El Salvador. But El Salvador only has 6 million people, so I don't think that's going to change the world. I don't own any cryptocurrencies. I never have. I'm not short any. I've never been short any. I wish I'd bought it when it was $1. I wish I'd bought IBM in 1914. I wish a lot of things, looking back in history. But in my view, just to repeat, and you said it well, if cryptocurrencies become legitimate threats to governments, I don't think most governments are going to accept. I don't think the U.S. is going to say, okay, this is money now, but if you want to use that money, you can use their money. You don't have to use our money. That's not the way Washington or London or other places work. Silver and gold are traded all over the world and have been for hundreds of years. The U.S. at one time outlawed it, but that's because gold was the currency, was accepted as the currency in those days. So no, I don't see, as I said, if crypto becomes a threat to governments, to their money, they will probably do something. But so far, it's not a threat. It's just a trading vehicle.
Well over 100 countries are in active stages of developing a central bank digital currency. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, no, I fully expect that eventually currencies are going to be on the computer. It's much more efficient, it's cheaper, it's better for many people. And governments love it because, as you point out, they know everything you do. They'll call you up one day and say, Michelle, you've been drinking too much coffee this month. Don't drink so much coffee anymore. No, they'll know everything you do. They'll know everything we do. Governments love that. I don't particularly like it. I think it's horrible. But governments have the guns. I don't have any guns. So they will do what they want. And I suspect, and it should happen, that currency, money, will be on the computer someday. It's not good for you and me, but it's certainly good for the governments.
So you do see countries moving into a cashless economy?
If that's cashless, yes. Yes. If that's your definition of cashless, I certainly think that. I know that will happen because it's not good for you and me to repeat, but they think it's good for them being the government. Well, I don't see how it's not inevitable. Yes. When paper money came along, people didn't think it was inevitable, but historically we can look back and see that it was inevitable. I don't like it, as I say, but I don't see that it's not going to happen because every government in the world likes it. As you point out, many governments are already working on computer money. They love it.
Is there a positive spin that you can put on what's happening in the world right now? Where are we welcoming 2025?
Well, everybody has to make their own decision about that. And as you point out, some are making it in New Zealand. New Zealand is a nice place, but I don't think I'd want to live there. But it's a fantastic country, and a lot of people like living there. I have no idea where to sit at if the world's going to come to an end. But Michelle, it's a good time to be an old American because all of these problems that America's going to have in the future, I'm not going to be around. It's not a good time to be a young American. I have 2 teenage daughters. The problems they're going to face in their lifetime are going to be huge. But that's true of every country, especially countries like America. So don't worry. We will have a 2025 and a 2035, and some people will do extremely well. Some will suffer very badly. The key, of course, is to be one of those who does well and not who does badly.
And any insights on how you become one of those that does well?
Well, the way you become one of those is you stay with what you know. You don't listen to hot tips. You don't listen to hot tips from anywhere, including on the television, including on the computer. If you stay with what you know and put your money and your assets into things that you know a lot about, you will probably be okay. You know, if I told you to buy something, Michelle, and you bought it and it went up, you wouldn't know what to do because you don't know why you bought it. If it went down, you wouldn't know what to do. Well, you'd blame me if it went down, yes, but you wouldn't know what to do because you don't know why you bought it in the first place. So if you stay with what you know, you can come through anything. If you're not interested in wheat, maybe you can expand your knowledge of wheat and maybe you can invest in wheat. But it's usually the people who are most successful are the people who have a passion about something and they stay with that, and that's where they invest when they find new opportunities.
And what pearls of wisdom or nuggets of advice are you telling your lovely teenage daughters?
Just what I told you, figure out what you love the most. Now, everything I thought when I was 20 was wrong about me, about the world, about everything. So I don't pay too much attention to some of the things they say because I know they're still too young to really know what they're talking about. I eventually learned. Many people eventually learn. So the thing is to if you can figure out what you love the most, figure it out and pursue that. And that's what I'm trying to teach them.